Tactical. The level of battles and engagements. It covers the direct application of force, taking a building, holding a bridge, destroying a formation. Decisions are made in seconds to hours and resolve within days. This is the level that produces the imagery of war and almost all of its casualties. It is also the easiest level to measure, which is why it is consistently overvalued. Winning every engagement in a conflict has never guaranteed winning the conflict. Modern communications have complicated it further. A decision made by one junior soldier on one street can now reach the world within hours and produce consequences at the highest level of national policy. Operational. The level of campaigns. It links tactical actions to strategic objectives by determining which battles are worth fighting, in what sequence, and toward what end. Decisions are made in weeks to months. It is the newest of the military levels. Soviet theorists developed it in the 1920s under the name operational art, and the United States Army did not formally adopt it into doctrine until 1982. Before that, American planning moved directly from tactics to strategy with nothing in between. Theater strategic. The level of a single theater of war. A theater commander receives national objectives and translates them into a military design for one region, which campaigns will run, in what order, and with what forces. It sits between national policy and the campaigns themselves. A theater commander can be given an objective that is achievable in their region and still be operating inside a national strategy that cannot succeed, and there is nothing at this level that can correct that. National strategic. The level at which a nation decides what it wants from a war and what it is prepared to spend to get it. It sets objectives, allocates forces and resources across every theater, and determines when the war ends. Decisions are made in months to years. This level does not fight. It defines what the fighting is for. A military can execute flawlessly at every level beneath it, and still fail completely if the objective set here was never achievable. Grand strategic. The level above the military entirely. It coordinates every instrument of national power toward a political outcome, diplomatic, informational, military, and economic. The military is one of four, and frequently not the decisive one. Sanctions, alliances, industrial capacity, and public legitimacy all operate here. The concept was formalized by the British theorist Basil Liddell Hart, who argued that the object of war is not victory, but a better peace, and that a war won at the cost of national exhaustion has failed on its own terms. Political. The level that contains all the others. Clausewitz stated it in 1832. War is the continuation of policy by other means. A war is not a self-contained event with its own internal logic. It is an instrument used to obtain a political result, and it has no meaning apart from that result. The consequence is that military success and political success are separate outcomes. It is possible to destroy an opposing army completely and still fail to obtain the thing the war was fought for. Competition. The lowest intensity at which conflict is conducted, kept deliberately below the threshold that would justify an armed response. It includes cyber operations, disinformation, economic coercion, proxy funding, and the use of forces without identifying insignia. The defining characteristic is calculated ambiguity. Each individual action is designed to be too small, too deniable, or too unclear in origin to warrant retaliation, while the cumulative effect achieves what a war would have achieved. It is often called the gray zone because existing law does not clearly classify it. Crisis. The level at which both sides are preparing for war while still trying to avoid it. Forces mobilize, alert levels rise, aircraft disperse, and ultimatums are issued with published deadlines. Almost nothing is fired. Every action taken at this level is a message rather than an attack, and its purpose is to demonstrate resolve at a cost high enough that the other side believes it. The Cuban Missile Crisis is the defining example. The danger at this level is not escalation by decision, but escalation by misreading, because a signal intended to communicate restraint and a signal intended to communicate commitment can look identical from the receiving end. Irregular. Conflict in which at least one side is not a state and cannot win by conventional means. Insurgency, guerrilla warfare, terrorism, and the counterinsurgency campaigns fought against them all belong here. The objective is not the destruction of the opposing force, but control over a population's allegiance. The weaker side does not need to win engagements. It needs only to survive and make the cost of continuing unacceptable to the stronger side. Most armed conflict since 1945 has been fought at this level. Limited. Conflict between states in which the objectives fall short of destroying the opponent as a functioning nation. Both sides accept restrictions on targets, geography, or weapons, and both understand the war will end in a negotiated outcome rather than a surrender. Korea and the 1991 Gulf War are examples. Limited war requires each side to correctly read the other's restraint as deliberate rather than as weakness, which makes it considerably harder to control than it sounds. General. Armed conflict between major powers in which national survival is understood to be at stake and the full military capacity of each state is committed. Restrictions on targets and geography fall away. There is no assumption of a negotiated end. The Second World War remains the last general war fought between major powers. Since 1945, nuclear weapons have made general war between nuclear-armed states an outcome no participant survives, which is why the levels below it have expanded so far. Total. The entire society is mobilized. Industry, labor, agriculture, science, and the civilian population itself. The distinction between combatant and civilian erodes in both law and practice because factories, transport networks, and workforces all become military objectives. Total war is not defined by the scale of the fighting, but by the absence of anything held back from it. The term was named by the German general Erich Ludendorff, who argued in 1935 that the entire nation should be subordinated to the conduct of war. Nuclear. The level at which every level below it stops functioning. A full exchange between nuclear powers is decided in roughly 30 minutes. There is no campaign to design, no theater to manage, and no tactical engagement to win. The operational level has no time to exist. Command authority may not survive long enough to issue a second order. Every other level on this list assumes that decisions made at one altitude can be corrected at another. This is the only level where nothing beneath it has time to matter. Thanks for watching. Which level do you think actually decides who wins? Drop it in the comments. Also, please remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video.